Say this is part 2 of the comparisons between the vintage modified Thinline and the Xaviere Thinline. Going to try to talk fast because I didn't realize that first one went all the way into 10 minutes. Nice thing about this one is the bridge pickup is a nice, typical Telecaster sounding pickup. I think I highly recommend these for. I was going to get a solid body one, but this one came up on Craigslist, and it was the color I wanted. And these come. That's the nice thing about these Xaviere Telecasters off of Guitar Fetish is that they got a bunch of colors, a bunch of different colors, and you keep coming out with new ones. And some other things I'll go over in a second that I like about them. And if it comes down to getting a used Squier and a new one of these, I would probably get a new one of these because you can always return it, and you're only paying, you're losing shipping costs, to and from, about the same what you'd lose on a used, sometimes on a used Squier or even a new Squier Thinline, the vintage modified ones, not the classic, but the new ones that came out. And you don't have to worry about trying to sell it. You just pretty much send it back and you're done. Some of the main differences between this one and the Squier is that the paint job on this one is much more durable. It's that typical epoxy type finish. It's very hard, even on the. It's probably the same on the neck too. And it's that finish that kind of dries by chemical reaction, so they can be buffed, within hours instead of having to wait several days for the nice finish. And you think, well, that's a pretty heavy finish. It's going to affect the tone, but considering this is a true semi-hollow body where it's got the hollow chamber on the top and the bottom, and you see that when you take the controls, pickguard off and see all the controls, it's truly hollow on the side, and it weighs, very close, if not the same as a Danelectro. I mean, it's just amazingly light and great sustain on it. It's just a cool feeling guitar. There are some things I don't like about it. I'll go over those in a second. One of the things, just overall quality might be a little bit lower. The controls are pretty good. The switch, I'm just going to talk because I bought this used. These knobs don't have a set screw, just like the Squier vintage modified had set screw ones. These kind of pull off, and this one's a little bit loose, so I'm about to pry that open. I have occasionally broken those off. What I do is I take a piece of thin, like cereal box cardboard, and just super glue a section to it, and then super glue the piece to it, and that usually fixes it just fine. Otherwise, they're good quality knobs. The switch is just a little too close to the volume knob. There's plenty of space in here when you open it up that they could have put the switch. So if I ever got another pickguard, that's probably one thing I'd do. Comes with the 3-saddle bridge. It says it's chrome covered brass. Sometimes you'll see a review of these and they'll say, no, they're steel, but if it's chrome covered, that's what they say it probably is. You get the same type of bridge where you can load it from the back or the top. Same thing with the vintage modified ones. A couple of bubbles, bubble there and a bubble here in the pickguard, just in the lamination, but it is a 3-ply pickguard. It's obviously just slightly less quality. I think I had to scrape the edges of the pickguard to clean it up here, and also with the where it meets the neck. And that's the nice thing on this one is it doesn't have that overhang, so you can take this pickguard off without having to take that neck off. That's one thing I didn't like about the vintage modified Squier, which was I had to kind of loosen the neck and just to get the pickguard up every time. This one didn't have any foil shielding. Usually there's basic foil shielding underneath here. I don't know if the original owner took it off or they just don't come with one. Another minor detail is the screw over here is actually into the routed out area, so it's not really being held on that much. Probably about half of a screw hole there. Another thing I did with the vintage Squier, vintage modified Squier that I didn't mention on the video, which was in place of the screws, because the springs were close enough. Well, I actually had to use different screws because the screws that came with the Neovin were a little bit too long. So rather than drilling the body more, I just used some other replacement screws that I had because it got weird when you're trying to adjust the height. So another thing too. I used that surgical tubing as springs on the Squier when I replaced them because the screws were so close that the springs would rattle against the case a little bit when you hit some lower the bass notes, but not on this guitar. The pickups on this one are nice on the bridge. It's just too weak on the neck pickup. I wish I hadn't sold the vintage modified stock pickups so fast. I probably would have kept that, but I'm eventually going to replace these with Neovins probably. Those are the noiseless pickups from Guitar Advantage GFS. Nicer thing about this guitar is it does have the 12-inch radius, so it's just flatter. So almost any pickup's going to sound. You're not going to have that imbalance problem. The original owner replaced this with a CRL switch. So I don't know what the original one looked like. The neck, the tuners are okay. You know, if you're going to be gigging with it, you probably want to replace them, but they're okay. For someone like me, you like playing at home, whatnot. The neck, it's, you know, the thickness is alright. It's just very wide. It's the kind of neck you would expect on a shredder guitar. That's the only thing that seems weird about it. So if I end up keeping this for, you know, maybe like in a year from now, or if I had like a shop setup, it'd be different, where I'd probably just yank out a bunch of these frets and shave down the sides and make it a little bit thinner. Because everything else about the guitar I like, it just has a certain feel to it. It's as light as, you know, Danelectro, maybe not as light, but it's just super light compared to the Squier. It's got a really durable paint job, you ain't gonna worry about chipping. Comes with a 3-saddle bridge, comes with a great bridge pickup. All this, the shielding, you know, that's not too hard to do. You can do it with tin foil and spray glue. What else do I like? I'm probably going to replace the felts on here, just because those aren't real felts. Frets are good. They're, you know, they look like probably medium jumbo. They're not the big, you know, full-size jumbo you find on SX Rondo music guitars. That's one thing I don't like about those, that those have really fat frets. And this is a nice one. The setup on it was pretty good. I haven't really adjusted the nut slot heights to even check them. I just did a basic setup on this. It's a really nice sounding guitar. It's just getting used to the wider neck. But, you know, the price is right. Plays in tune. Stays mostly in tune. I haven't really done too much with it. And the price, I would still buy one at full price easily, just for this price. Just as long as you can get used to the wider neck. I think the pickups, because of the flatter radius on the neck, it's going to be nicer, easier to find good balance on the pickups. And just need to get a switch tip for that. What else did I like and not like about it? I did have to do some minor adjustments, just cleaning up the neck pocket slot just a little bit. Nothing compared to the Squier, what I had to do on the Squier. Oh yeah, some people complained about the neck heaviness of it because the body's so light. Now, when you hold it like there, it's not neck heavy, but when you do put the strap on, it does want to sit level. And it's not bad enough. It's not as bad as like a Strat acoustic or PVE acoustic, which will want to fall down a lot. So to me, it's okay. What I might do, like I said, if a year from now I still have it, I might go ahead and cut down the headstock. Another trick you can do is get the vintage style tuners. You probably get the bushings, the conversion bushings, and sometimes those are lighter, but these seem pretty light as it is, just because of the price range. Price point. I'm just probably going to keep this as it is, except for just getting some noiseless pickups, and I might even just hang on to these cheaper ones in case if ever I did want to unload it. But I think these are excellent. The price, I would easily, depending on, I mean, with shipping you're paying $200 or a little bit more than that, depending whether you're getting the maple neck. But I think if you're just looking for a basic Telecaster to have around, these are more than worth it. For the, it's just a really nice. It's just got its own feel, because at least the Thinline model, because it's just so light. It's nice and light, and it's got a great acoustic sound. And like I said, the Telecaster, the bridge pickup definitely has that Telecaster sound. You know, for those of you not familiar with it, it's because there's a big plate underneath these pickups that's on the bottom of this pickup that spreads out the magnetic field that gives it a different sound. And then the neck pickup has a thinner wire that gives it a different sound. So I think for the price point, these are excellent guitars. You know, you get what you pay for, and if I had to choose between this and a Rondo SX, probably choose one of these, just from what I've seen. I have had SX Strat. Those were okay. Those did have pretty big frets. That's the only thing I didn't like on those.